Hey everybody, welcome back to K. Joe's Views. We got another exciting review for you today. We are doing the movie Monster, released in 2021 via Netflix. But before we get into that, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Please subscribe to my YouTube page so you get the full experience, but also subscribe to my IG page at KJoeViews_views. So you can see me talking daily about entertainment, trailers, teasers, news that we're getting all on the Hollywood media front. And that's where you'll get kind of the daily goings-ons and the drops of what's coming out next and who's doing what next. So make sure you subscribe to both of those and follow me and share, tell someone about me. All right, so today we're getting into the movie Monster. Like I said, it's a 2021 released by Netflix. However, the film was the movie was filmed back in 2018, I believe. It stars Kelvin Harrison Jr., John David Washington, who I'll probably be referring to as JD Washington because that's just how I call him in my head. A$AP Rocky and Jennifer L. There's also Jennifer Hudson in the cast and Jarrell Jerome. They play smaller roles, but they're in the movie as well. So the synopsis of this movie, and this movie is based on a book by Walter Dean Myers. It's a best-selling novel he released years ago, and based on a true story as far as I know. So the synopsis of this movie is essentially Kelvin Harrison Jr.'s character, Stephen Harmon, he's a 17-year-old honor student and also aspiring filmmaker, right? And he's arrested in connection to this robbery turned murder. And he's supposedly involved in it. So the movie is basically us watching him prove his innocence in court while also showing us what actually transpired in connection to the robbery turned murder. So this movie is a courtroom drama. It's also a crime drama. More courtroom drama to me than it is crime drama, but it's billed as both. So that's your synopsis. That is your movie. We're going to get into some spoilers. So here we go with the review. So, review, I give this movie an A-. I was hovering actually on the low end of a B, but then the protagonist / narrator did something that made me feel very good about the movie, and then also the ending of the movie I also liked. So let's get into all that right now. So one of the things I want to mention is, even though this is a courtroom dramas, I guess, typically won't have a trigger warning, but crime dramas might. There is no trigger warning for this movie. You don't see. I mean, you'll see the murder, of course, the robbery turned murder. But other than that's it. There's no trigger warnings. You're not seeing anything too untoward, right? Of course, there's graphic language, but that's about it as far as trigger warnings. So let's talk about what was good about this movie, right? Because there was a lot of good about this movie. First of all, it was a very good courtroom drama. Like, as someone who has some experience with law, I'm aware of what should go down in a courtroom and how procedures should be taken care of, certain rights that could be violated, right? The movie did a very good job at not messing that up, right? They clearly had someone either on staff who has worked in a courtroom who really made sure they kept to the way a courtroom would go. So the courtroom procedure, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the truthness of that. Even smaller things like the prosecutor trying to plea bargain because he wants to get home early. Like, these things actually happen. A lot of people forget because your life and freedom are involved. We forget that for lawyers, for judges, this is just their job. They're just coming into work, So we get a good idea of this is their job while this is his life. So I really appreciated the movie drawing that out for us, right? Another thing that was good about this movie was the acting. I mean, you had JD Washington, so of course you're going to get good acting. He plays one of the people who was involved in the murder. He was actually directly involved in the murder, right? him and A$AP Rocky are directly involved in the murder. And as their story goes, is that Stephen Harmon, our protagonist, our 17-year-old honor student, was somewhat of a lookout go guy, for the robbery. That's their story. And of course, like I said, you'll see all that get played out in court. But back to the acting. J.D. Washington does a very good job at playing a snitch, rat, no good convict, right? He does a good job at playing that, especially at the trial. I mean, the trial, I really like the courtroom procedure for this movie. The trial, the testimony, the way the lawyers attack the witnesses was so true to me of what an actual courtroom, how things would go down in an actual courtroom. Another great thing about this movie is, I think a lot of us kind of go into movies like this assuming innocence, right? Because it's our protagonist. Of course he's innocent. But this movie, I don't know if it's the direction or the writing, did a good job at making me question, did he do it? Like, it kind of seems like, because as it goes through the courtroom drama, there's all these scenes from back in before the robbery took place, and how our protagonist met A$AP Rocky and J.D. Washington and all that. So you start to kind of question, like, maybe he did play a role in this robbery turned murder. Maybe he did. So we get to watch that through the end of the movie. And that was also, like, for me, a good thing about that was seeing, technically he was involved. Spoiler alert. Technically he was involved. But his involvement, the level of his involvement is reasonable. I think I don't want to say a lot of people. I think there are people who would have been in that situation and done the same thing, unfortunately. Not a good thing, but it is what it is. That's life, right? Another great thing and the final great thing I want to say about this movie, in addition to the courtroom procedure, was the public defender. So this character, Maureen O'Brien, I believe was the name of the public defender. It was played by Jennifer L. And that's why I mentioned her. Normally I wouldn't have mentioned her in the earlier credits. But to me, she was low-key the unsung hero of this movie. She did such a brilliant job of playing the overworked, underpaid public defender who actually still gives a shit about her clients. And I think she did a tremendous job as an attorney, number one, as a public defender, but two, acting as a public defender. So I wanted to highlight that. So the downside to this movie, the reason why at first I was going to give it a very low grade, but then I gave it a high grade, is our protagonist engages in this weird friendship, mentorship with A$AP Rocky, who's essentially like the street goon, bully kind of guy, right? If you've ever seen Dope, it's basically the same trope, right? He plays this streetwise bully who befriends our protagonist for hidden motives. And I'm sick and tired of that trope. That's number one. But number two, I don't fully understand how that goes down, because our protagonist, like I said, is an honor student. I didn't say this, but he has a girlfriend. He has a great family life. I mean, for all intents, and he's on his way to film school. He's in honors classes. His film teacher loves him. Like, he's not socially awkward or anything. So there was nothing there in the relationship for him and A$AP Rocky. And you can see in the movie, as he gets to meet and talk to A$AP Rocky, that he doesn't even seem to like him that much. So it was really confusing to me as to why he was in this kinship with A$AP Rocky. And it was something I couldn't get past. So eventually, about 3/4 way through the movie, the protagonist, the narrator, Steve Harmon, addresses it. He says, to be honest, I have no idea why I became friends with this guy. I have no idea why I started talking to this guy. Looking back years later, I still don't know why. That was enough for me. Even though you didn't actually give a reason why, acknowledging that you don't know why was enough for me. So I was able to change your grade. Look, You showed your work. I was able to change your grade from a B to an A minus, or like even a B minus, to be honest. So that is my review for this movie. I thought it was a really great movie, really great for courtroom procedure, really great for seeing a good example, finally a good example of a public defender, a good example of kind of realizing that for the court, this is just their job. They clock in and clock out, you know, but for someone else, this is their life, this is their story, this can change everything. It did a very good job at pulling us into the story and not knowing, you know, how things were going to turn out. Spoiler alert, he is found not guilty. But like I said earlier, he kind of was guilty. But I highly recommend you check out this movie. I don't want to get into the entire why he's guilty, but I just encourage you to check out the movie. Again, there are no trigger warnings. Good movie. I feel like it was a little long, but not super long. So definitely worth checking out. And don't forget to check out more of these reviews. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share. Don't forget to check out my IG page, as well as subscribe to my YouTube page. And I will see you guys on the next flick. Bye.